Oh, what you gonna do? You wanna get down? Tell me. Oh, what you gonna do? Do you wanna get down? Oh, what you gonna do? You wanna get down? Oh, what you gonna do? You wanna get down? Tell me. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Come on in. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. How you gonna do it if you really don't wanna dance? By standing on the wall. Get your back up off the wall. Tell me, how you gonna do it if you really don't wanna dance? By standing on the wall. Get your back up off the wall. 'Cause I heard all the people saying, get down on it. Come on and get down on it. If you really want it, get down on it. You gotta feel it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Come on and get down on it. Baby, baby. Get down on it. Get on it. Get down on it. I say people, what you gonna do? You gotta get on the groove if you want your body to move. Tell me, baby, how you gonna do it if you really don't wanna dance? By standing on the wall. Get your back up off the wall. Tell me, how you gonna do it if you really won't take a chance? By standing on the wall. Get your back up off the wall. 'Cause I heard all the people saying, get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. When you're dancing, get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Sha-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-doo. Oh, what you gonna do? Do you wanna get down? Oh, what you gonna do? Get your back up off the wall. Dance, come on. Get your back up off the wall. Dance, come on. Get down on it. Come on and get down on it. If you really want it, get down on it. You gotta feel it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down. Come on and get down on it. Baby, baby. Get down on it. Get down. Get on it. Get down on it. How you gonna do it if you really don't wanna dance? By standing on the wall. Get your back up off the wall. Tell me, baby, how you gonna do it if you really won't take a chance? By standing on the wall. Get your back up off the wall. Listen, baby, you know it. Oh, when you're dancing, yeah, you show it. Oh, when you move, 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 you know it. Oh, when you're dancing, yeah, you show it. As you move across the floor, get down on it. Come on and get down on it. If you really want it, get down on it. You gotta feel it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Come on and get down on it. Baby, baby. Get down on it. Get on it. Get down on it. Sha-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Oh, what you gonna do? Do you wanna get down? Oh, what you gonna do? Get your back up off the wall. Dance, come on. Get your back up off the wall. Dance, come on. Get down on it. Come on and get down on it. If you really want it, get down on it. You gotta feel it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Come on and get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. While you're dancing, get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Oh, 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 yeah. Get down on it. You move me, baby, when you move. Get down on it. 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 Get your back up off the wall.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's NBA Sharp Betting Breakdown here on the Advantage Sports Betting Podcast for Wednesday, November 13th. Whether you are watching on the way to work, already at work, or simply catching us later in the day, we thank you for tuning in and hope this show becomes the sharpest NBA betting podcast that you listen to and part of your daily handicap. We are coming off night one of the NBA Cup, and instantly getting another 12-game NBA slate. So no fluff, straight to the good stuff. Let's bring in professional poker player Drew Johnson, show up the odds screen, get right into business, which starts with the Indiana Pacers visiting the Orlando Magic. This line, I think, opened at 1.5 for the Pacers side, steamed out to 2, and has come back to 1.5. So very little movement, kind of insignificant stuff regarding the spread. We know the Magic are on the second night of a back-to-back. Now they go home after playing the Charlotte Hornets and crushing the Hornets in their first game of the NBA Cup. Total was released in the WAP as a full unit play on the under 227, and now we are seeing this down to 224. Drew, I'm going to throw the first question to you and just say, do you play back this at this point with it being a Pacers under that we're on? Like, is it? I love the spot for Magic unders. We were on the under yesterday in their NBA Cup game. Cash is at under 214. I'm not even sure if it peaked 200. Pacers run pace, try and score as much as they can, but they're missing a few key guys. They're missing Nembhard. They're missing Neesmith. They're going to have to rely more on Mathurin and TJ McConnell coming off the bench. So I kind of want to let a 227 ride, but I get that's kind of anti-Pacers. So a little bit of strange dichotomy between the two teams, one very offensive, one very defensive. Would you play back anything on an over at 224?
Not yet. I would consider waiting still. If this gets down to 222 and a half, something like that, I would definitely be looking to play back some for sure at that number. This number seems kind of sharp to me at this point, though, right?
Yeah, especially, honestly, Drew, as you're saying, wait, thank you, my friend. DraftKings moves to 223.5. Bet Rivers moves to 223.5 right now. So there is more movement happening on the board towards the under in this spot. I assume you'd also say I'm not playing that if I don't have any bets yet. Like, if you think it's flat enough where you're not going to bet into this. Do you have any opinion on spread direction if people want to get aside?
No, I don't. With the Pacers injuries are a real problem for their team. The Magic are starting to prove that they can play without Paolo over the last 3-game sample size. So this, to me, especially with the Magic being at home, they might dictate the pace a bit more. They might dictate the game a bit more. This is a complete stay away from me. The Pacers have also proven that they're not great at covering spreads for the most part. So I'm a little worried to back the Pacers at the moment.
They're the team that I never want to back. Is my microphone okay? I saw that Ian dropped in the chat that my microphone was being wonky.
It's better now. I don't know. It's not like you're on the other mic, so it doesn't make sense to me why it's doing it. It's like it's just picking up more.
Let me see if I could fix it. How's that?
That sounds better, yeah.
Okay, let's talk Boston Celtics at the Brooklyn Nets. Boston Celtics yesterday, they're on the second leg of a back-to-back. Drew, you know what happened to the Celtics yesterday?
They outright lost to the shortest of shorthanded Atlanta Hawks. I couldn't believe the game yesterday. Like, it honestly didn't make sense to me how Atlanta was in it realistically. Like, it was a lot of Jalen Johnson. He looked good, like really good.
He's really good. Dyson Daniels is a phenomenal defender.
Yeah.
When they do have Trae Young, they're kind of now perfectly built around him with like size, defense, switchability, some shooting once they get some of their pieces back. I think Hawks like still kind of underrated from what they might be in the middle and end of the season. But in regards to this Celtics Nets line, Drew, the total was something that I noticed a little bit of a discrepancy. It opened at 218.5 at most places, and then sharper books who come out later post a 217. So circa opens at 217 while all the other books are at 218.5. They've met in the middle. So I really have no opinion on this total. I would lean under, but again, the Nets are a strong under team. The Celtics can go either way. It's really a matter. It's hit or miss with their shots. It's hit or miss how much defensive effort they bring. Obviously, yesterday the game takes insane under action, but steams and lands well over the total. That was a spot yesterday. We talked about NBA Cup unders and the situations and how much the lines moved. Drew, overs on closing lines yesterday go 5-3.
Yeah.
Unders on opening lines go 5-3. So it was the Hawks Celtics that was up to 236.5 at its open and closed at 225 that lands at 233. And it was the Suns Jazz that opened at 233.5. I played the under 232. That would end up pushing unbelievably bad. Would close at 227. So there were two spots that landed in the CLV zone where that shows the value of getting in early, getting good numbers, and possibly playing things back. Because if you had played all those things in both directions, you went 10-6 across the board, right? So that would have been a very strong card to have. I got no opinion on spread here, too. It's been 8.5 the whole time. I just think these first two games, like super sharp lines. The only thing was the total was a little bit too high on the Pacers Magic because of the Pacers injuries.
Yeah, I have a small play on the Nets actually at plus 9.5, which I think Sports Interaction opened to that. And everything else was at 8.5 already. And I kind of liked the Nets to cover what is essentially at that point a double-digit spread. Especially on the second night of a back-to-back from the Celtics. Obviously, they played an intense game last night, a game that went down to the wire. All of their starters were in throughout, played the full 36 minutes or the typical 36, 38 minutes, right? So definitely more of a net spots than a Celtics spot, especially on the road for the Celtics with a double-digit spread. If it gets back up there, as we can see, it's moving a little back towards the Celtics. But right now, definitely be staying away from that.
Yeah, 8.5s across the board. DraftKings and FanDuel have the Celtics side at minus 112 with the Nets side at minus 108. Every other book has minus 110s on both sides. Drew getting the plus 9.5, and we've seen the key numbers chart for the last 3 seasons. 9 is a top 5 NBA outcome, so that is a nice ticket to have. And backing a home underdog, Drew, that's probably a pretty good spot.
I'll be watching the line movement, though. That might be something I move off of if it gets back to 9.5 everywhere.
Yeah, that's understandable. New Orleans Pelicans take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. This one, I actually think there's a strategic gambling angle worth discussing and diving into. The Thunder are missing Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, and big Jalen Williams. Yeah, that's a situation that I call cluster injuries. It's a very football reference when like every wide receiver is out for a group, or a team's missing 4 running backs or 3 defensive backs or 2 or 3 people on their O-line. When you have multiple injuries to the same position group, it is called cluster injuries, which means the impact of what Chet Holmgren is worth to the total ends up becoming a bigger outsized, the value increases because you don't have the replacement player. So you end up having to completely change your style where J-Dub started the game at the 5 or Lou Dort started the game at the 5, whoever you want to consider. And they played completely small ball with SGA at 6'6", being the tallest guy in the starting lineup. So the Thunder are kind of depleted in their front court, which makes them just play a full backcourt game. And then the Pelicans on the other side, I mean, they're dealing with not necessarily cluster injuries because it's not one position group, but the whole team is just destroyed. DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum, Herb Jones, Zion Williams, Jose Alvarado. That's a starting 5 that's just out for the Pelicans. We should call them the Shellikins because they are a shell of themselves right now. I just came up with that one on the fly. I'm proud of myself. I played the over at 222.5, Drew. I still think that this is playable. It started to come down, and now it's going back up again. So a little bit of mixed signals, but this is going to be 48 minutes of pace and space, no rim protection, getting to the rim, hopefully spacing out the court, and the pace should be very high if it's all smaller players out there. So I just think that this is quite the over spot, and we saw it last game in the Thunder's first game without Chet Holmgren, where the other two were also out against the Clippers, where they scored over 250 points in the total.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right there. Like if the three of those big players for the Thunder are let's say they're worth to the total like 9 points, and then as each the first two comes off, they're worth like 2.5 points each. But then Chet going off is worth 4 to get to the whole 9. I see what you're doing there, and I really like that sort of take on this. I'm trailing you on this for sure, and like the spot as well for all the reasons you just said. This is one of those spots though, like if both teams are just dead from 3, you might end up losing it by 20 points, which will look bad, but it is a good spot. And if that happens, that's variance. It's just high variance, right?
I agree. This one either lands at 236 or 206.
Yeah, right.
Right. This is not a game that's going to land 1 or 2 points off the number. And then I say that, and it's going to be a nail bite sweat till the finish. All right. Cleveland Cavaliers take on the Philadelphia 76ers. Cleveland Cavaliers still undefeated and absolutely dominant this season. 76ers returned Joel Embiid last night. He doesn't look great. He still doesn't look totally like himself. Of course, going against the New York Knicks, they do have the right people to defend him. OG Anunoby fronting Joel Embiid is a nightmare situation for the 76ers. And then them also being able to put OG on Paul George or Bridges on Paul George. Like, the Knicks defense can be relentless at times, even though they have no rim protection because their perimeter defense and their wing defense is so strong. And they also play so slow on offense. We've seen this total. I played the under 220.5. Listen, I simply played it because I noticed the market direction here. We also had after the game, Drew, we're supposed to have no Paul George and no Joel Embiid because it's the second night of a back-to-back, and that's what that was announced earlier before the season. Except Nick Nurse comes out after the game. Joel says that he wants to go tomorrow. So, like, after the whole bullshit of he's not going to play a single back-to-back all season long, he might play in the first back-to-back that he's active for, coming off the injury and the suspension. For me, it's no other reason that the 76ers are at the bottom of the East. They don't have time to fuck around. Like, it's one of those fuck around and find out things where if you keep resting your guys and not playing them, you might be 7 games out once it starts getting to crunch time. So I think the 76ers have to play for their record purposes. Ultimately, I don't think they're going to end up playing in this game, though. I understand the sentiment of trying to get out there, but I don't think it happens in reality. Any opinions on, like, because if they were going to play, Drew, we would obviously pick up Sixers plus 9.5 and Sixers plus 350, like immediately. And Joel Embiid has fucking dominated Jared Allen over the course of their careers when they go against each other.
Playing in this one,
is he out this one?
I'm pretty sure. I'm almost positive I saw something about him being out. Yeah. Certainly questionable. Yeah. Yeah.
Questionable. Jared Allen and Sam Merrill. Doubtful. Joel Embiid, Paul George. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey and Max Strus are out for this one. Yeah. I would consider Embiid and Paul George doubtful and probably not going to play. Does the uncertainty make you say there's no bet to take, or is there an angle worth playing into?
I don't think there's an angle worth playing into other than the line movement, which you've already done on the over, and I did on the spread. I saw Cavs minus 8.5 one place for minus 110 last night, which I picked up as the whole board was moving to 9.5.
Yep.
And I like that without the stars for the Philly. I do think that the Cavs will take care of business and just get this one out of the way. First 3 quarters, first 3.5 quarters, and that you're probably looking at a 15-point, 20-point deficit by the time this one's halfway through the fourth.
Especially if there's no Embiid, Maxey, or Paul George, this one could be a blowout.
Yeah, especially, and like Strus is arguably their fourth best player. Like that's literally the top four, right?
Ooh, over Garland?
No. Oh, sorry, Struess. I thought. Never mind. I had that reversed. Never mind. Ignore everything I just said.
Yeah, they're going to be playing what, like Oubre, Drummond, Lowry, Yabasuli, the guy who was great in the Olympics. He's actually been pretty good, but
yeah, he has been
potential disaster lineup for the Philadelphia 76ers at home. Like
especially
this would be
against the Cavs who are rolling.
Yeah, and the Cavs when the team's rolling like this, you could say probably similar things about the Warriors right now. They almost don't have many letdown games because they have reason to get up for every spot because they're rolling, right? The Celtics might have a complete letdown spot because their motivation is they're second in the East, they're projected to be first, they're rolling through the hum along of the early regular season. The Cavaliers are like, no, let's go get this. We're hungry still. We haven't proven anything besides that we're rolling in the regular season, and let's keep that going. The Chicago Bulls take on the New York Knicks. Drew, you already have one ticket where you've taken a home dog and you've beaten through the 9, and you've taken a road favorite and you've beaten the number through the 9, right? Nets plus 9.5 with that at 8.5. Cavaliers minus 8.5 with it at 9.5. Which direction does this Bulls Knicks one go?
I have Bulls plus 9 right now, minus
you
1.
You did it again, you motherfucker.
I did it again. Got it again. And I like that spot. The Bulls didn't play last night. The Knicks did. Now, the Knicks game wasn't as intense as some of the other ones around the league last night. But I do like the fact we talked about pace last week. Bulls at the top of the list, Knicks at the bottom of the list. On the second night of a back-to-back, I think the Bulls probably dictate pace a little more, especially they'll probably lean into that from a coaching perspective, right? So I liked the plus 9 for all the reasons we've already talked about in the previous 2 games. And I also liked the over, which I got at 227.5.
I'm kicking myself. I didn't play the over. The reason why I didn't was because Brunson rolled his ankle pretty bad, went to the locker room in last game. He would end up coming back and finishing the game. Same with Jalen Suggs in the Orlando game. They both had ankle rolls that they would end up coming back and finishing the game from. So I was just a little bit worried of like, oh, does that get worse overnight? Do they sit Brunson in one? Deep asks, question for when the Knicks are discussed. Worth monitoring Brunson's status today. Turned his ankle yesterday, likely to be stiffer today. History of foot problems, second night of a back-to-back. Yeah, that is precisely the reason why I avoided the over in the spot, even though it was clearly something that I wanted. I think Brunson's going to play based on what we've heard post-game and then based on the way these lines have moved. We're going to get to shoot around in a few hours. Deep, that would be the time worth monitoring. So just be at your screens at like 12:15, 12:30 Eastern when some shoot-around news starts to come in and see if Brunson's out there or he's taken off, because that would absolutely start shaking the line.
Yeah, and if that does happen, I'm going to be looking. Obviously, I think my Bulls plus 9 will be good, but I'll be looking to get off the over or play the under even harder than I've played the original over.
Interesting. Yeah, if you could still get like a 229 because you have 227. Yeah. So if it drops a point on the, like if you're there when the news breaks, right, and you can get to your screen pretty quickly as these numbers are falling, the screen might lock and then just reopen back at 227 or 226.5. But there's a chance that you could get there and squeeze in a bet in that time window. Those Washington Wizards play at the San Antonio Spurs. Alex Sarr versus Victor Wembanyama. Battle of the big French bigs who are leading the league in blocks. I have no opinion on this game. I have barely tracked the line movement. Playing Spurs unders are fantastic. Playing Wizards unders are terrifying. So Spurs as a 9.5 home favorite is also terrifying. There's really no angle that I have on this game at all, True.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say about this one either. I'm probably not watching it either. There's some better games tonight for sure.
The one thing I will note is I actually went ahead and bet that Victor Wembanyama Defensive Player of the Year at minus 190. And let me explain the process for actually betting into a minus 190 future at this point in the year. That future came online at minus 275 when the books first opened lines. It was a preseason future of minus 275 for Victor Wembanyama to win Defensive Player of the Year. Now, anyone who's going to bet that specifically needs to call the help number.
Yeah.
And if you're going to preseason tie up a minus 275 for 11 months until the award processes, that's a dumb decision. So money obviously started coming in on other players, and that was obviously going to start to shift the liability and shift the odds. So it was known that that number was going to come down a bit, but it speaks volumes to that's where they wanted to originally price it. So then we start rolling in the games. OKC is dominating on defense. They have the number one net rating, defensive net rating in the league. They're leading the league in blocks and steals individually. Chet Holmgren is the anchor of that defense. And so then him and Wembanyama pretty much become neck and neck around even money for both of them. Slight plus odds for Chet, even money for Victor. When Chet Holmgren went down, we had to completely reevaluate that market because Chet Holmgren was going to miss 10 to 12 weeks and immediately be disqualified from winning this award. Victor has proven that the Spurs are a phenomenal defense. He's exceeding his defensive expectations already this season. The second best candidate who's giving him a run for his money is going to be disqualified. And the Spurs are the team that's held the most of their opponents under 100 points. It's a factor of their own pace and their own defense, and the fact that Victor's a phenomenal defensive rebounder too, right? He's not a great offensive rebounder because he hangs on the perimeter so much and creates space. Defensively, he's in the paint and he just grabs everything, and then he looks for Chris Paul, who walks the dog up the court. So the Spurs are great underspots, but we're going to get a situation where we're halfway through the season and the Spurs have held 9 times under 100, and the next closest team is 3 times, right? So there's going to be situations where the Spurs defense looks great, Wemby looks great, and I don't want to say it's injury or nothing, right? Because there are other players, like Draymond last night was fucking fantastic against the Mavericks on defense. So I think there's other people that we still need to consider. Evan Mobley, with how well the Cavaliers are doing. There's other ones too.
It's fixed to lose though.
But it should have gone back to that minus 225.
Yeah, like
or 250 or 275, and it will be there soon. And we're gonna get to a point, maybe by Christmas or early January, where it's genuinely injury or nothing. I don't think we see a better line than minus 190 for the rest of the season, barring an injury to Victor. So it's still there, minus 190. You can see the other candidates: Mobley, Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo, Dyson Daniels with all of his steals. He's crushing. The amount of steals Dyson Daniels has ultimately will not compare to the amount of stocks that Victor Wembanyama has at the end of the season. So stocks being steals plus blocks. So I think this is a clear Wemby spot. I put 1.9 units to win 1 and just said, all right, I'll do it. Let's get to the Detroit Pistons at the Milwaukee Bucks. Drew, I played this under at 221. I also played this spread at minus 4.5. Shout out to Gino, who commented on Twitter saying, are you looking at the Bucks for tomorrow? And I pulled up the odds, and I'm literally watching the 4.5 move to 5. And I'm like, yep. This is a game where both teams are on the second leg of a back-to-back. That is a clear reason for some of this under action. We're seeing unders move in a lot of games where there's back-to-back situations. And on the Bucks side, in terms of the spread, Drew, Pistons play a fucking nail-biter.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the Spoelstra thing in 1 second. Milwaukee goes on cruise control in the second half, even without Dame. So one team had a very lax second half with their back-to-back. One team had a very intense game that nearly went to double overtime, went to single overtime, nearly went to double OT. If Spoelstra wasn't Chris Webber yesterday, would be the right way to put it. So we're seeing the total plummet. We're seeing some action to the Bucks. I think both make a lot of sense. Are any still playable, or is there worth any play back on a total if you have an under 221? I'm thinking about just riding both positions. Please, Milwaukee, win another one like you did yesterday and give me a +2 unit win.
Yeah, that would be nice. I am really of the opinion that this is a letdown game for the Pistons. They're a young team. They did everything in their power to lose last night.
Yep.
I don't know how many times they gave the ball to Cade and he dribbled into the lane and then turned his back to the basket about 8 feet out and watched just 3 guys swarm him and him lose the ball and them take it and go down for a run or get a layup or get a foul or get a jump ball, all sorts of crap. Right. And, that's something he's going to have to work on going forward. Just those key turnovers down the stretch, especially when the game they're trying to put the game in his hands. Right. I really think it's going to be tough for the Pistons to get up after that against a Bucks team that's still shorthanded. I do like the underplay from the number you grabbed it at. I think by the time I was looking at it, it was already 218. And I was like, wow, I'm probably avoiding that now. I wouldn't mind a playback here with 5 points available to you, right? 4.5 points available to you. The Bucks, I know they had a really low scoring game last night, but they did shoot 56 threes. They just missed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good statistic to know. All right. Yeah, I'll probably end up playing that back. Let me check the screen for where the best line is. Let's see if there's a 215 floating out there so that we can. No, all 215 and a halves. Okay. Yeah, that'll probably be one that I play back half a unit on. Especially because I have exposure to the spread as well. So,
yeah.
Drew, the other thing I want to mention is that Spoelstra thing yesterday. So people who don't understand what I'm referencing, Eric Spoelstra calls a timeout when he doesn't have timeouts, which is a technical foul. So it is 121 all or 122 all?
121, yeah.
121. And the Heat are about to have the ball after they got terribly beat on a after timeout inbound play where it was beautifully drawn up by JB Bickerstaff, beautifully executed by the Detroit Pistons, throws the lob, gets the dunk, immediately tie the game. Spoelstra's pissed, right? He's just like, fuck that, calls a timeout, starts walking onto the court. Refs are like, you don't have a timeout. Refs huddle up. Malik Beasley is the first one to notice it, and he starts jumping and pumping his fist. Malik Beasley just goes ahead and walks to the free throw line because he knows it's a tech. And then there's a funny moment was Malik turns around to Cade and is like, do you want to shoot it? Like, because like Malik noticed it and he was just like, I want the shot. I want the shot. Because obviously, I mean, he's one of the best shooters in the league and he'll trust himself. But like a funny moment for like a role player to be like, give me the shot. I'm going to take it. I want like the Boston Celtics have Peyton Pritchard take a lot of their technical foul shots when he's out there. I would wonder what that would be if it was Jason Tatum and Peyton Pritchard both out there in the same exact situation. Do you think that? I wonder if they'd still go to Pritchard. The other thing that I want to mention, Drew, is we had that Detroit Pistons 13-1 yesterday for East Group B winner.
Oh, yeah.
This was beautifully situated now where the Pistons are plus 450. So now we can come in on other teams. We could wait to see how Bucks Pacers goes and those first few NBA Cup matches. I'm thinking the Detroit Pistons do not play on Friday in the NBA Cup. I'll have to double check on that. But that would be a nice boost to be able to see what happens in some of the other games and watch the market movement. I'll be watching the market movement for the Pacers' first Cup game and the Bucks' next Cup game. And then determining how you play the future because the game markets are such heavy influences in these groups because it's such a small sample size. So like we saw the Pistons steam come in yesterday for that game and it was like just pick off the 13-1 while it's there because that's incredibly correlated. Drew, the Clippers visit the Houston Rockets. Line opens 4.5 for the Rockets. We're seeing some 5s. Total opens 215. We're seeing 214. very little movement. However, the 4.5 to 5 is somewhat significant because of the key number. I've been very pro Rockets because of their estimated net rating is still top 5 in the league. Clippers have been playing phenomenally well without Kawhi, and they're well coached. They have good role players around James Harden. James Harden is willing to just be ISO ball. This is James Harden back in H-Town. I wonder if he's visiting the clubs and paying some tuitions to some women out there. I was looking Rockets -5. I was waiting for more of the board to start shifting. However, it really hasn't. I woke up to the exact same. 5 was at -108 at FanDuel. 5 was at Circa. 5 was at -108 at DraftKings. -4.5 is 115 at BetMGM and Bet365. This was literally the exact same odd screen that from 7 hours ago. So I'm kind of confused. Do you have any opinion here?
I'm confused as well. I did pick up the Rockets at exactly this number, expecting to gain CLV overnight. For all the reasons you said, Rockets have a great net rating. They should be one of the better teams in the league, according to most of the statistics they have. They could also be that good bad team, though, right? Where they're just blowing out sort of worse competition. I know they've lost 1 or 2 games to worse competition, including the Spurs one night, but that's just a tough matchup for them too, right? Considering the Spurs' length and how that one being in San Antonio, I think we picked off that money line, right? This would have been like the first week of the season, or
yep, that was exactly Spurs Rockets at Spurs. I think second game of the year.
Yeah, I just this is definitely a matchup thing. The Houston Rockets are going to match up very well against the Clippers, especially this iteration of the Clippers. They're big at all the same positions. I know the Clippers have been feisty. I know they've been playing good defense. I know they've been controlling the pace. I don't know if that's going to continue. And I think this is probably one of the teams in the league that will test that theory most. So I like the Rockets here. I haven't moved anything on my ticket. I'm waiting for the time being. The only thing I do is probably lower my exposure. I think I have 1 unit. I might go down to 0.75. I might go down to 0.5 if we don't get a lot of movement here. But I do like the spot for the Rockets.
Yeah, that'll be one that I continue to monitor. Let's see if there's more changes in that odd screen, and it's Rockets or nothing in this spot. Minnesota Timberwolves take on the Portland Trailblazers. Repeat matchup of last night's NBA Cup game. Back-to-back, same teams. And the Portland Trailblazers won outright big last night.
Yeah, like it wasn't close.
Wild. So now we're actually seeing the exact same lines, Drew. Minnesota Timberwolves -9, over under at 220.5. This is pretty much exactly where it closed yesterday and just reopens at the same place. Book saying one game sample size does not change our projected numbers from what we're going to do. We know that when you play these 2-game sets against teams, you often see the bounce back. And you often see less scoring in the second one. It went over the 220.5, but the book didn't react to it. And they said, we're still going to set the 220.5 because there's probably going to be less scoring. And now, does that go under, or does that just mean this is the right number? This was a rare spot, but I'm considering the 1 unit money line Wolves, because they're just going to come out. They should come out so fucking hungry in this one.
You would hope to see them come out hungry, right? Like,
yeah, it
would be pretty
dangerous.
indicative of this team if they don't come out. But I don't think, like, we know who the best player on that team is. It's Ant, and Ant's gonna be pissed, right? Like, if there's a guy who you can kind of read, because he's just so open about his emotions and his charisma, and just exudes those factors. He's going to get up for this one. He just got beat in an NBA Cup game by the Portland Trailblazers. He mad, right?
Yep. No travel in this one. I actually kind of would have liked the travel spot going back from Minnesota to Portland, just because the plane rides would probably be vastly different between the two teams. Yeah. And one of them would be studying and one of them would be celebrating. So I really like the Minnesota Timberwolves in the spot. They have been blowing out teams. It's tough to play into a -9. I might just prefer lay a unit, bring home a quarter unit on the money line. You have to think like net rating wise, Drew, and like power rating wise, and modeling this game, you would have the Wolves -12, -15, or whatever, right? So the home court advantage is bringing this down a little bit. But I think the revenge factor looms large for the Timberwolves. That will be something I decide on later in the day. The Phoenix Suns take on the Sacramento Kings in Sacramento. These teams played a few nights ago in Phoenix, where the game went to overtime, and the Sacramento Kings would end up pulling it out. One thing that I kept mentioning yesterday was that Fox and DeRozan both won Clutch Player of the Year. It was Steph Curry that won, not DeRozan. They were the two finalists, but it ended up going to Curry. I said Curry missed games, and it went to DeRozan. I was wrong. Do I really care about Clutch Player of the Year? No, and that's why I got it wrong. Phoenix Suns will be missing Kevin Durant still. They're on the second night of a back-to-back after beating the Utah Jazz last night. Utah Jazz fouling down 3 possessions with 30 seconds left to playing for that point differential bullshit, even in a losing effort, even being the Utah Jazz, where they're not coming out of their fucking group. So that's why my under pushed, because they scored 9 points in the last 30 seconds. It was absolutely brutal. However, Suns second leg back-to-back. There's been movement through the 7 on the Sacramento Kings. This was 6.5. Now it's 7.5. That's a very significant move. We've seen the 225s go to 226. This is, again, very sharp. Total stay away for me.
Yeah, total definitely stay away. And now that the line is all the way up to 7.5, you can't play it either. If anything, you want to play the Suns, but this is one of those stayaways at this point. I think the line opened at like Sacramento -5.5. And if you grab that, kudos to you.
Drew, why is the Lakers line -6?
I don't know. It opened at -7.5, right?
Yeah, what the fuck's going on with this? Because in terms of injury, like AD's probably going to play. D'Angelo Russell's probably going to play. On Memphis, you have no Ja Morant or Desmond Bane. Maybe you do possibly have Marcus Smart returning. But again, if you have Jaren Jackson Jr. there and he's going against Anthony Davis, it's not really a great plus spot for Jaren Jackson Jr. These two teams hate each other. This is becoming one of the best rivalries in the league. You've seen we've seen Ja Morant push LeBron last game. He just bumps him with his shoulder. LeBron looks back like, dude, what? And Ja Morant goes, yeah, I did that. And he just like stands tough up to him for no reason besides he was trying to show like, he's like, I'm here. Like, you can't fuck with us. I would think the Lakers fucking pedal to the metal. We have Circa at 6.5, DraftKings, MGM 6.5, 365 6.5, Bovada 6.5, Bet Online 6.5, Bookmaker 6.5. Everywhere 6.5, but this reduced VIG, Lakers -6 at -108. Like, what am I missing here?
I don't know. This
is this a strong Lakers spot? I'm so confused.
Honestly, I was super confused the last game Memphis played too. I can't remember who they played. I think it was Sunday though. And it was the day where I was like, let's take some dogs tonight. I wanted dogs against the spread. And
they blew out the Trailblazers.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. All right, that's definitely one I'm going to monitor and possibly play later. Like if I'll wait for another hour or so. I'll wait for some shoot around information. I'll wait to see if AD's at shoot around too. But if we start seeing any of them move to 7, I'm going to play the Lakers, even if it's at 6.5 at FanDuel at that point, and I miss the half movement. I'll wait. I'll take the information in exchange for a potential half a point. But I could see myself certainly grabbing the Lakers side. They're a good team when they're at home so far.
Yeah, they're also a good team against slightly worse competition. Like they have LeBron, and one of the things I saw in the game the Raptors played against them at home on Sunday, I think, was when LeBron is against significantly worse competition, like especially with people being out and whatnot, he is just still so good at picking apart exactly what a given defense is handing you. He was lobbing to Jackson Hayes over the top against the Raptors like it was nothing, making every right read. And this could be one of those games where, because the level of competition is just a little lower, a little dumber, he'll be able to really dictate how the third and fourth quarter go and get this one done.
Anything else that you want to discuss from the slate? Can we quickly talk about the
Spoelstra thing?
No, I want to talk about Klay Thompson's return and how that game ended.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that was a great game.
That was fucking phenomenal. First of all, Klay back in the building. It was great to see Klay have a really good game, right? Like,
yeah,
hits 5 or 6 threes, scores over 20 points. In the fourth quarter, comes out firing. Had a very strong fourth quarter. Ultimately, Steph nights the Mavericks. Wow, it was.
Thank you, Steph, for that cover. By the way,
yeah,
very much appreciated.
Would have been another just brutal bad beat. By the way, I'm seeing on the FanDuel screen right now that 222.5 Pelicans is up to 223.5. So hopefully, we said that was still playable 15 minutes ago. Hopefully people jumped on that if they heard it. That was something that was sent out in the WAP last night. But anyways, back to Steph and Klay. Steph nights him in just a ridiculous shot. I'll try and pull up the highlight of it, and we could show it real quick. And then after post game, the Steph Klay interaction was meh, like very much acquaintances, not longtime great friends. And so I just wonder what's going on in that relationship between those two, because here I'll show the clip right now. Hold on.
Sure, I'd love to see this actually.
Yeah, that's what we do around here. We show great basketball things. All right, so Klay has a moment after the game. Look at those abs, Klay. Oof. Klay has a moment after the game where he's gonna go around and spread love to all of the people because he knows all of the coaches, all the training staff, so many of the other teammates. And there was also, I'll play this first, and then I want to talk about one other thing. That was it.
I mean, we don't see what goes on behind closed doors. You know, they could have sat down together prior to the game for 20 minutes and hashed it out, right? But
knowing what Curry has said, that they didn't really have much of a relationship off the court, that Klay was a very quiet guy and a very isolated guy, and they had an amazing relationship when they were in the facility, but didn't really speak outside of the facility. I'm of the assumption they just don't communicate much right now, and that was a reflection of it. I would think there's a chance that they speak after the game, or that they know he whispers I'll hit you up, I'll text you, or whatever. And that's what could have been said in that moment here. Something is said right here.
Yeah.
They said something right there, right? So it could have been I'll see you soon, I'll talk to you later, or whatever. I love you, or whatever.
Yeah.
Lackluster, and you would think if they were still in great space with each other, it would be a bigger moment. We've seen LeBron with his ex-teammates, we've seen Curry with his ex-teammates, and then I'll see if this video shows it, but I think this is just going to follow Klay. There was right after that moment where Klay goes and talks to Buddy Hield, who's kind of new Klay on the Warriors.
Klay, yeah.
And right after the Klay Buddy Hield little gap up, Steph and Buddy Hield have a massive bro moment where they're slapping each other's chest, and I'm like, oh my god, Steph's really having his moment with Buddy Hield on the court in the Klay game right after. It was I think it was illuminating to see that.
This is like, it's almost like the new girlfriend's better than the old girlfriend, and kind of, I'm glad I moved on. That was a great relationship, and it's nice to see you, and I hope you're doing well. But this my girl right here.
Right. You see this new hot thing that I'm with?
Yeah. Trade it up.
Exactly.
Trade it up.
Swap the minivan for a Corvette.
Yeah.
At this point in Clay's career in basketball terms,
I don't know. That's overstating it a bit.
Yeah, no, I was more.
Those guys are kind of similar players, especially.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
Right. Like now they're similar players. Before, Clay was way better because of his defensive presence and just how he could actually get to the rim still and get those mid-rangers a bit more than Buddy Hield ever could. But at this point in their career, they're kind of the same guy, and the Warriors are paying Buddy Hield considerably less than they would have had to play Clay, and I think that was the right decision.
So a few questions in the chat, and then we'll get out of here, and I'm actually going to play instead of Patrick Beverley's outro today, y'all subscribe to my podcast while you're asking all these questions.
Don't forget to subscribe to the pod.
And listen to your parents. Kids, listen to your parents. There's been a few questions that are in the chat, so subscribe to my podcast while you're asking all these questions. So let's answer a few questions. Nicholas says he misread things and bet the under 229 on the Knicks game. Does he buy out or bet the over on 230?
No Polish middles.
Yeah, this is kind of half Polish middle because you can't lose both bets, but you could push one, lose one. So I still don't advise doing this. Nicholas, if your schedule allows you to watch the game, if your schedule allows you to continue to monitor the odds screen between now and tip-off, don't do anything yet. We're still waiting on Brunson news, right? We're still going to get to shoot around to see how his ankle's doing. The Knicks are still one of the slowest paced teams in the league going against one of the fastest teams in the league or the fastest team in the league. So we don't know who's going to come out and control the pace. We don't know if it's going to come out with slow shooting. So what I would do with this is wait, see how the line develops between now and tip. And if you're still left with this, eat the 10% or buy out and bet the over 230. I would advise watching the game and potentially trying to live bet early and get off of it that way in a way that doesn't create this situation, right? So like play into some early game variance, ride the ticket. In some situations, it's worth doing that, especially in NBA totals where you're not going to get fucked by injury news, right? I wish I could have bought off the Bucks Raptors under yesterday because Damian Lillard was announced out. And that totally changes things. But if you're betting into an NBA total where there's not a big news break and you're just a point off, ride that more than dump that. If it's spread, it's going to be twice as valuable as a total per se, maybe even a little more than that, depending on what number. So in a spread, you might want to buy off a full point. In a total, just leave it be. When Drew says that he sometimes dumps tickets when he notices the market moving, he's doing that at Sports Interaction or FanDuel that allows a free cash out. Yeah. So he's not eating 10% to do that on a total. So that's the key difference here. Wait. Maybe if it gets back to 229, you could just cash out at full value and then just walk away. Maybe you end up watching, riding, monitoring. Maybe Brunson's out. Deep says he dropped this quote from Mike Budenholzer. We'll see how he does. He wakes up, what the medical team has for us tomorrow. Bradley Beal left the game with calf tightness yesterday. That makes sense for why that line's possibly moved out to 7.5 and potentially takes more steam if Bradley Beal is out. Nicholas says, thanks, gents. Nick, thanks for being here. Eric says, thoughts on a pissed off Ant-Man over 26.5 minus 104 at FanDuel. Yeah, I'm okay with it. There's definitely less scoring in the second set of back-to-backs, but I don't know. Drew, do you have any opinion on this?
No. I would not be looking. I think that's a sharp number considering this total that we're looking at for this game, right? 220 minus 9. I think they're going to need a bit more of an attack from all angles against That number depends largely upon how he's going to shoot his threes. If he's going to make 50% of them tonight, which he very well could, this is Ant, he's going to break that number. I think the interior defense of the Portland Trailblazers is going to keep him from getting to the rim quite as often as he would like to. And that's one of the problems that we saw last night, right?
Yeah. So especially with the rim protection and Rob Williams might actually play in tonight's game. So I would probably avoid this. I don't like betting into star overs in games that are going unders. I very rarely bet into star player props. I feel like those are pretty star player prop overs are pretty public. Not sides that I generally want. Minus 104 vig is probably pretty fair for the value right here. However, games going under second leg of this back-to-back in this exact matchup, good rim protection on the Portland Trailblazer side, I probably wouldn't. It would be my honest advice. All right. Anything else that you want to add, Drew?
I'm just looking at his threes made over under, and everybody kind of has it at 3.5 minus 130. I think you can get 4+ on FanDuel at like 125. Yeah. I would look at that angle more than I would look at his total. If you're gonna just considering who they're playing and the fact that he's
look at the
going to want to shoot those above the break threes if he's pissed, right?
Like if I think that's very smart.
That space.
Yeah, so that's the direction to look at it.
Yeah, especially with 26.5, like that means he has to get 27, which that would indicate to me in this type of game that he hit 5 threes. So take 4, right?
JB says Brunson under 25 and McBride over 10.5. Even if Brunson plays, he might still be sore. Sure. Not parlayed, JB. I damn sure hope that's not a same game correlated parlay where they'll give you like the fucking terrible odds. If you can get plus 264 on that, do it. If you get anything less than that, throw that shit out. Chad says the Raptors are 8-4 ATS. You want to know the 4 games I bet on them? That's hilarious.
I feel you there. I've been looking them up the last 3. I think they've missed the last 3, and I've still been looking them up. Now they've been in those games, right? Like, one of the things that happened in the Lakers game is that they were actually doing better with Anthony Davis in because of just their pace and space. How hard they attack the rim and whatnot. When he went out and LeBron just had 4 shooters sort of around him and then Jackson Hayes to throw the ball to get above the rim, that's when the Raptors started losing. And that was kind of a bad beat, I thought.
Eric chimes in chat. Let us know when you bet the Raptors so we can fade you. If the gambling odds are real and the superstitions are real, then those things are hilariously true. Alex writes in, any thoughts on Draft King of the Court promo? Huge fan of the pod. Go Cavs. I'm not familiar with DraftKings King of the Court promo is. If you want to, you got 45 seconds to put more information in there. Alex, we appreciate you being here and being a huge fan of the pod. And go Cavs. They're fucking killing it right now. They're a phenomenal story. I want to quickly go back to the JB thing about Brunson and McBride. I think the angle makes sense, but it's just not an angle that I generally bet into, being like, this is what I project for a player's injury. If you get notes from beat writers, if you get information from shoot around, then these things become very strong. But projecting how Jalen Brunson's ankle feels is not, we can't do that. Especially, it would be terrible advice for me to say his ankle's sore because I don't know. So he ended up finishing the game. He went to the locker room, he came back out, and he finished the game. So same with Jalen Suggs. So how much do those things end up impacting, or does Jalen Brunson just end up playing and he's totally fine because they're at home and they're taking steam and the over's taking steam? So indicators from the market say Brunson's going to play. Yeah.
The other thing is if you play basketball and you roll your ankle, sometimes like it looks bad, feels bad initially. You get back out there, you run it off, and it is literally fine. Like absolutely fine. That's happened to me. I could not tell you how many times I've rolled my ankles in basketball and still been able to just keep going, no problem whatsoever, within 20 minutes.
Chad says for the DraftKings King of the Court, you bet a player stat, and if they had the highest PRA on the night, you get a share of $1 million in free bets. And he got a free $38 bet doing this. Cool promotion by DraftKings.
Always
I don't know.
Taking advantage of promos.
Yeah, always take advantage of smart promos that allow you to choose the line that you are going to use in said promo are far more advantageous than using lines that they give you and they say, we've put together this 4 same game parlay and super boosted it. Well, those, I'm not of the opinion that those are like purposely chosen for reasons that are going to lose. Like, I think it's a marketing department that just says, let's push these 4 players because that's what people want to see. And then there's traders on the back end who probably are like, meh, let's not do that one because we already have a big liability in that direction. Choose something else. I don't think it's like a trader telling the marketing department, hey, let's go on the overs on Pistons because the game's taking huge underaction. So let's get... I don't think that's the way it works. People are always assuming the worst and that these books are incredibly evil. Having worked for large corporations before I started working for myself, I can tell you that every company has marketing department, HR department, charity department, CEO suite, everything, right? So these they all have different isolated jobs, and so it's not some huge scheme. It's just people working in what they do for their job in a big company. Deep says, last one that we'll do. What about the idea of taking the McBride bet and then cashing out, since BetMGM allows no vig loss cash out? Sure. Yeah, if you think you have an asymmetric risk here, Deep, this would be. I actually think this is smart. And Chad says Giannis was the highest PRA. That's exactly the candidate that I was going to say. Or potentially SGA because of the cluster injuries, and he's the tallest guy on the court there. And if we're betting the over and in the OKC game and the under in the Pistons game, maybe it's SGA in this spot. But Deep says, what about the idea of taking the McBride bet and then cashing out, since BetMGM allows the no loss cash out? This is asymmetric risk relative to the Brunson news. So JB, if you're still listening, this is a good concept for you to invoke too. If you just bet McBride now, with Brunson likely to be active in the market, if Brunson props are available, they're saying he's active, then what you do is, if Brunson is inactive, you get a massive boost to your McBride. If Jalen Brunson is active, Deep is saying, I'll just cash out of that at absolutely no loss and move off that position. Deep, that is a smart way to approach asymmetric risk and using the book's resources to your advantage. Very well done. Anything else to add on the day, Drew?
Not today. Looking forward to tonight. Looking real forward to more NBA Cup games on Friday. Yesterday was really enjoyable.
So schedule-wise for everybody, I'll throw up the WAP picks in a second. Schedule-wise, there is one game tomorrow. If we have odds for it. No. It is the Jazz taking on the Mavericks in Utah. I wish we had odds for it because then we could just break it down now. I will do a live show myself. I'm actually traveling today, so I'll be at a hotel room tomorrow. I'll pop on at the normal time and do a 10-minute live show and just get it out and talk about that one game. Drew and I will be back for Friday doing NBA Cup stuff. I'll be joining Drew. Friday's normally Drew's show. I'm going to be with him this week. WAP bets for today are Bucks minus 4.5, 1 unit. That's at 5.5 now. Cleveland, Philadelphia under 220.5. That's at 218 now. New Orleans Pelicans, OKC over 222.5. Let me see if that's still available anywhere for you guys, because we just saw, no, 223.5, 224s are starting to pop up, Drew. 224s. That's looking good. Indiana, Orlando under 227.5 is now down to 224, 223 at FanDuel for that game right now. Detroit at Milwaukee under 221 is 215.5 across the board. I think I'm about to play that back a little bit because for half a unit, because of what Drew said about the ways in which they were shooting threes last night.
Yeah.
Chad says he tailed Fiddle, by the way, you got the plus 13 and now they're plus 450. Yep, we threw that up earlier today. That was great in reaction to the Pistons winning Eric Spoelstra being a Chris Webber. Instead of Patrick Beverley telling you peace out, please subscribe to the podcast, I'll do that really quickly. And then we're going to end with the outro video of what the Golden State Warriors presented Klay Thompson in his return tribute video. Now, the ending and the goodbye was a bit lackluster. The welcome home was truly amazing, and we're going to play that video. So please rate, review, subscribe. Go to Apple Podcasts. Bunch of people saying huge fans of the pod. I hope you're leaving a review because doing those things takes 5 minutes and goes a long way in us helping reach more people and growing what we're doing here too. Thank you, everybody. Peace out. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
With the 11th pick in the 2011 NBA Draft, the Golden State Warriors select Klay Thompson from Washington State University.
You know, I know I can get my career off to a great note up here, and I know we can do something special.
Klay Thompson three, a lob. Oh. If you're wondering what the NBA record is for most points in a quarter, you just watched it.
Klay is my dog. Our chemistry has taken us to all type of crazy heights. When I look at kind of my career, it's kind of hard to separate the things that have happened on the court and not put Klay in there.
For NBA history, you got it! 14 threes in a game!
Klay is a brother who will be a part of my life for the rest of my life.
That's a good one. Klay defines who we are. There aren't many people like that out there. He's back!